Welcome to chapter 27 of the book of Exodus, making our way through the book real well and are with the building of the tabernacle, the sanctuary, which encompasses a courtyard, and within the courtyard, what's surrounding the courtyard is a curtain. Well, we'll go to the picture. Picture's worth 1,000 words. So they say. There it is right here. Now, the last chapter, it began with some strange dimensions, which I've been thinking, well, this must be these 15-foot pieces. I didn't see how they tied in, but apparently they did. The whole 26th chapter had to do with the building of this structure right here. Now we're going in some of the things inside. Now we're going to go into this chapter and build the outer and some of the things inside. Of one is the horned altar, and it says, "And you shall make this 4160," as I mentioned before. Pieo is to make, do. It's the most used verb in the Bible, to do. 4160, but it depends on, you don't do an altar, so you make an altar, so the usage of it depends, the words in the English depends on the usage. So here, make an altar from out of incorruptible woods, some hard wood, of 5 cubits the length and 5 cubits the breadth. So that's this altar. So if we go back down to our figuring it out, it was 18 inches. So 5 times 18, 5 times 18 divided by 12 for 12 inches for a foot. And we come up to 7.5 foot. So by 7.5 foot. It says, I'm just going to leave this. Well, I'll leave it there. So, and the altar will be 4-cornered. Tetragon, it comes from that. It's the exact word, transliterated into English. And its height, 3 cubits, so 18, 36, 54 inches. Not quite 6 foot, 5 foot. And you shall make the kerata. Kera has to do with a horn. Even in the skin, when you have little like horn pieces or on a bone and so forth, a carrot, it starts with a carrot, keratosis and so forth. So you shall make the horns. Now I probably saying horns with my St. Louis accent when I grew up. Everything with the O-R was R, A-R, har. So I've horses, it's supposed to say. So if you're laughing at me, don't. You shall make the horns upon the 4 corners. There you go again, corner. Gonion, a tetragon, a gon has to do with a corner. Tesseron 4. The horns shall be part of it. They're on the corner, and they're made out of probably ram's horn, I would think. I didn't say, but maybe it will in another place, that these horns sticking up from either a ram or some animal. It's an animal horn. This is not a trumpet. It's not a metal horn. Now, if it was made out of metal, it wouldn't be like a horn. A trumpet, it would be like a shape of a horn if it was made out of metal. But anyway, it says, and you shall cover them in brass. Calypsis, the apocalypse, this uncovering, and here it's a covering, calyps. The apo is from. So those horns, they're to be covered in brass. So they have the horn from the animal, and they cover it with brass, decorate it. And you shall make a Stephani, and you can add that to your English derivatives book. It's Stephan is the word, a person's name. It means a crown. And in this case, it's not really, you could say a crown to the altar or a rim to the altar, and its lid, and its bowls, and its meat hooks, and its censer. So this was to sacrifice animals on and to burn the animal. And all its utensils you shall make of halka, in the Chalcolithic age. It's a brass age, and this word we get halka. And you shall make for it a latticed brass great work. There's the halkenes, the same. Ergonomics comes from that, working, and a grate. So it's some kind of a brass grate that the fire goes through and burns the victim. And you shall make for the grate 4 rings of brass. Dactylius is a ring. It has a dactyl as a finger, and this is the word for rings on the finger, but this is not a finger ring, it's a larger one. On its 4 sides, just as other things that had the rings, from the ark being the first one, I believe, that we mentions. And you shall place them under the grate of the altar from below. Now, I don't know if that picture on there would show that or not. No, it doesn't, the altar. And I didn't get a picture of what it looked like, or would somebody imagine it to look like. And the grate will be for half of the altar. I guess he's talking about half of the top of the altar, and the other part would be open coals, I suppose, where you could move the coals around, add to it. And you shall make to the altar bearing poles from out of incorruptible xylon wood, another hard wood. And you shall brass plate them in brass, halco. And you shall bring the bearing poles into the dactylius, the rings, and let the bearing poles be according to the sides of the altar. You can add that to your English derivatives book. Pleurisy, something to do with the side, and this would be the word, the derivative. So bearing poles into the rings on the side, in the lifting of that altar. And you shall make it hollow planked. So it's wood with some type of a lining, I suppose it wouldn't burn up. And according to the holding forth of the example to you on the mountain, thus you shall make it. So there was that altar, and next is the courtyard. And that was the large area I was showing. And it says, and you shall make a courtyard to the tent in the side. To the tent in the side. Well, the tent was in the west side. The one towards the south. Well, now here it says, you shall make a courtyard to the tent in the side, the one towards the south. Well, that's just talking about that's talking about this area here. All over in here, the south side, and that's the north side up in there. And you shall make shrouds out of those hanging curtains all along there for the courtyard, from out of linen being twined. The length 100 cubits to one side, and I wrote that in the red here so you can see it's 150 foot long. And that's how long that, now maybe one solid piece, and they rolled it up. And their posts 20, and their bases 20 of brass. So go back over here, and so we could count these, and hopefully there would be 20 there, and they would be, the bases would be made out of brass, where they would sit in there. And they have hooks in their clips made of silver, which would hold the shroud onto the frame. Argire. Argentina comes from that. Argire, And the vases, it's almost a transliteration into base. And so also to the side towards the Voron, the north, the Aurora Borealis, the Bora comes from that, the north. You shall make shrouds, again, 100 cubits or 150 feet in length. And their posts 20, the same as the others, the south side, and their bases 20 made of brass, same as the south, and the hooks, the clips, the posts, and the bases being silver-plated with silver metal. Now, was it silver-plated in the last one? They're 20 of brass. They're hooks. So also to the side towards the north, the bases being silver-plated with silver metal. So it looks like the bases on the north side are silver plated rather than the brass. And why, I don't know. This is all things that we'll see when we get to heaven. These are copies of things that will be in heaven. So we want to really understand as much as we can. So we get to heaven, we will walk in and we'll see all these things and we'll go, there's the altar. Look at that. It's got the 4 horns, just like it said in the Exodus. Oh, and there's the incense, and there's the this and that, and we'll see it all. And instead of being like the person that comes in from, well, they used to call it a country bumpkin that came in from the city and didn't know what the things were in the city because he never went to the city. But today, everybody sees everything, so there's no longer any country bumpkins. There's probably city bumpkins. Don't know anything about growing and the things in the country. But anyway, we want to know the things in heaven. And for the breadth of the courtyard by the west, you shall make 50 shrouds of 75 cubits. So that would be back here. Those the shroud, how long it was, and their posts 10, and their bases 10. And the breadth of the courtyard towards the east, now we're coming to the front, where they have the gate. You shall make shrouds of 50 cubits, so it's also the same width. Their posts 10, and their bases 10, same as in the back. And 15 cubits for the shrouds is to be the height to the one side. So there's a division here in the front. And now I looked on the internet for the tabernacle and all the different pictures, and they all showed the height of the shrouds in the front to be the same as the side and the back. But I've looked on other places, and they, in the King James, and they all have the height in the front is way different than these pictures. So all these pictures are wrong, as far as what I can see, because it says 15, that's 22 feet, for the shrouds is to be the height to the one side, and their posts 3, and their bases 3, and for the second side, another 22 foot. So to me, what it's talking about is right over here, these 3 here are actually twice as high as on the side here. It would go way up here if it was pictured right, and that would be the correct height, and I didn't see that anywhere. So somebody can redraw this and put it up in the map. On the internet would be great. So then 3 in the basis. And in the gate of the courtyard shall be a covering 20 cubits, that's 30 feet in height, made out of blue, purple, and scarlet, being twined in linen, being twined in the embroiderer of the stitcher. And their posts 4 and their bases 4. So now we've got a 30-foot here. This one here, these were twice as high, and here this is 30 feet, so it goes way up. And it's all colored, not like this here, but embroidered, beautiful colors on this front shroud. All the posts of the courtyard round about being plated in silver, and their tips made of silver and their bases of brass. That's all the other ones. And the length of the courtyard is 100 by 100, and it doesn't say cubits, but that's what it was 150 feet. And the breadth 50 by 50, both both ends, east and west, north and south. And the height is 7.5 cubits from out of linen, being twined of the on the side, but doesn't have the colorful things with it that it had on this other one that was 30 foot tall. It had, this one was blue, purple, and scarlet, but not the ones on the side. And their bases were of brass. And all the furniture and all the work tools, you can add that to the English Derivatives book. Ergalia, ergonomics comes again from working, and this is an ergalia, is a work tool. And the stanchions of the courtyard were of brass. Now, I'm not exactly certain that's possibly the stanchion, what the stanchion is, but anyway. And you give orders to the sons of Israel, in the imperative, give orders, and let them take to you eleon, and we used to call oleo when I was a kid. We used to get oleo, and it was an imitation. It was margarine. It wasn't oil, but oleo. And this word, it came from this word eleon, olive oil generally, not any other oil. But sometimes they made it, they called it with other oils, but that generally, generally you want to make it olive oil from the eleon, the olive tree. So other oils, see that it would be, oils would be, well, like we have today, canola comes from a plant, corn oil comes from corn, a grain, and then there are oils from animal fat. Lard is a form of an oil that's an animal, but this is from olive trees. So this is very exact, not any other olive. So when you do the anointing, it's supposed to be olive oil. And it's to be free of impurities, being beaten, katharon, pure. Cathartic is pure, for a light, phos. So they beat the olives, however they do it. They make the pure olive oil. For a light, a phosphorus, photic, so forth with pho, with light. That a lamp should burn always, and I'm guessing they're talking about the lichnia that was we mentioned in the last chapter. Give the I had those pictures with the all of the 6 side pieces with the lamp. The lamp is actually the part where the oil is in and it burns at the top. That the lamp should burn always. And in the tent of the testimony, from outside the veil by the covenant, Aaron shall burn it and his sons from evening until morning before the Lord. So that evening until morning, I guess they put it out then, an eternal law unto your generations by the sons of Israel. And if we go back, we'll see that they call it a menorah now, but this lichnia, the lichnos, is right here. It's outside of the tent, the inner veil. So it's still within this compound, but it's not in the Holy of Holies. So we got through that without too much confusion, like the last chapter, which I do apologize about. I just wish I would have taken found a picture of the altar, but if I find one, I'll add it to the 28th, so we have you'll see a picture of what people have come up with. It's interesting to see. A lot of it doesn't agree with the scriptures. Amazing. Well, maybe it's not amazing. Now we're going into the priestly sacred apparel, and we'll find out about this clothing the next chapter, and I hope you'll join us again, chapter 28. Till then, God bless.